What's happening, ITP? Paranormal Phil here. So glad you joined me as we take another look into the paranormal. So before we get started, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified when I post my next video. Also, be sure to share this video with all your paranormal friends. So before we get started, down in the description down below, there will be a PayPal link where you can donate to support Into the Paranormal to help me make more videos such as this. Also, you can donate there to help me bring Talk in the Night back on the airwaves to bring you great guests, great content, and all around great topics. So be sure to donate and support Into the Paranormal and Talk in the Night. So let's get into the topic of this video. So in this video, we're going to talk about near-death experiences. Now, I've had a friend that's no longer with us that had a near-death experience, and I talked to him about this on my show, Talk in the Night, when it was going pretty good. But he is no longer with us, as I said. So we're going to talk about people who have been to the other side and come back. So this is from Somerset Live, and the title is What Happens When You Die, as told by 6 people who died and come back to life. Now we're going to scroll down here to the first one, flipping through a book, and I hope y'all can see this. Okay, I'm going to, make sure that y'all can see this is okay. Make sure it's centered. All right, so this is the first one of 6. Almost 10 years ago, Monitor Monkey underwent major surgery during which he bled out, causing him to die for several minutes, the mayor reported. He said, I woke up, and this is the person that had this near-death experience, said, I woke up in what looked like space, but there weren't any stars or light. I wasn't floating, so to speak. I was just there. And before I get further into this, this is what my friend described, and I'll get to that after what he experienced. But he did say that he wasn't floating, he was just there. This person here said, I wasn't hot or cold, hungry or tired, just a peaceful, neutral kind of thing. I knew there was light and love somewhere nearby, but I had no urge or need to go there right away. I remember thinking over my life, but it wasn't like a montage, like most people say that they experience or they believe that they experience a montage, reliving your life, going back over past memories. More like I was idly flipping through a book and snippets stood out here and there. Whatever it was, it changed my thought on a few things, and I'm still afraid to die, but I'm not worried about it, what happens after that. And a lot of people don't know what really is on the other side, because as you're going to hear in these stories, and I got a couple of videos that I'm going to play, you're going to hear different accounts of what happened or what happened to them after they had this near-death experience on the other side and came back. The second one is a visit from a family member. Shanada, and I know I'm going to pronounce it wrong, 7 was thrown from a motorbike while cruising at 50 miles per hour and was medically dead when he was taken to the hospital. As he laid in the road before the ambulance came, he recalled someone he knew encouraging him. I just remember being on the pavement and things slowly going black and quiet. The only reason I didn't fall asleep was because of a bizarre moment where I heard someone yelling, "Ranger up, you catty F," you know the word. "Come on, man, get up, get up, get up." When someone was slapping my helmet, which was basically smushed really hard into my head. When I opened my eyes, I saw my brother squatting on the pavement next to me. This was odd because my brother died from an overdose several years ago. The only thing I remember is him glancing at his watch and saying something like, "They'll be here soon," and then walking away. I wish I could have give more details, but I honestly don't remember much of the incident and still have trouble with my memory as a result of the accident. Now, this person might not have been on the other side per se, even though he was medically, what is a medically dead, but he saw loved ones from the other side. And I've heard a lot of stories of where people have seen loved ones on their deathbed before they die and they mention it. So that one could have been more of that situation than actually being on the other side. Third one is a garden. While many users describe their death as being like a void, I died for a bit, had a very different experience after an allergic reaction caused his or her heart to stop. Now, they didn't describe if it was a male or female in this near-death experience, but we're going to read on. It says, I remember a feeling of being sucked backwards extremely slowly, like being pulled through water and this blackness fading in and out. At one point, it faded back in, and I was staring out at a garden. Now, could that be what most people would describe as heaven? And we're going to get into my 2 cents on this after I'm done with the article and the videos. But continuing on, it wasn't filled with flowers, just dust and patchy grass. Oh, does that sound like heaven to you? And like I said, I'm going to get into my 2 thoughts on the afterlife. There was a playground with a merry-go-round in the middle and 2 children running around it, a boy and a girl. It is difficult to describe, but I got the feeling I could choose if I wanted to stay or leave, but every time I tried to go back, I was held in place. I went through all the reasons I wanted to go back, and then when I told the presence I did not want to abandon my mother wherever held me finally let go. I snapped back into my body. My heart stopped for 6 minutes. Now, again, every story in this is going to have a different view on the afterlife, what they experience on the other side. And like I said, I'm going to tell you what I think after everything's done. Hitting the snooze button. As As a teenager, the dead man walks was had been going through months of chemotherapy when his nose started bleeding uncontrollably. To a, due to a sepsis, uh, I'll never be able to pronounce those infection. His condition worsened, and he slipped in and out of death, which he described beautifully. The worst part of it all, looking back, is how peaceful it can seem. It's like wanting to hit the snooze button on your alarm at 7 a.m. Now, if you've ever had a really good dream and you want to hit the snooze button and go back to sleep just to try and finish it, I know I've done that myself. This is what this person is describing. And maybe you don't do hit it once or twice, but then you remember that you have to work or school, and that sleep can wait because you still got shit to do. So it's like he wanted to hit the snooze, but he didn't want to hit it too many times. But once you get to that side, there's no way to really hit the snooze. Number 5, fun and games. Altberger 69's brush with death didn't stop him from cracking jokes. He had a heart attack last year, and my heart stopped 3 times in the emergency room. Apparently, each time they shot me back, I woke up how it felt, and told the staff a different knock-knock joke each time. No lights or whatsoever, just felt like sleep. Now, again, different stories are going to come out with different outcomes. And I had a conversation with a Christian woman about near-death experiences. And I'm going to share this video with her and let her see what people describe. Because a lot of people have never had a near-death experience, so they don't know what it's like on the other side or what people have experienced. But I'm giving you little stories here and there to give you an idea that people experience different things. So the last one is Nothingness. In the aftermath of a motorbike accident, Rolkoff breathing and pulse stopped, and he went cramped and stiff. After 2 minutes, his friends managed to resuscitate him. For me, it was just a blackout. No dreams, no visions, just nothing. Apparently, I asked over 10 times what happened and said, I shall be happy to be alive today. Now, let's see. And then it says you can share your story. Here, I'll highlight this so you can see it and everything like that. If you've ever had a near-death experience, email them, but also email me. I would love to hear your story. And if you want to be a future guest on Talking the Night once I get it back up and running and talking about near-death experiences, let me know. I'll leave a link to my email for Talking the Night where you can email me. And again, as soon as I get Talking the Night back up on the airwaves, I will start figuring out what shows I'm going to do, what guests I'm going to contact. I'm fairly good at contacting every single guest. But again, and I'll leave the link to this where you can read all these yourself. But again, there's 6 different stories here. And I'm sure you can Google search near death experiences and find all kinds of stories. So we're going to play a couple of videos. First one's 5 minutes and let's see, 57 seconds long. Let me make sure.
Some people seek salvation. Not Howard Storm. He claims faith found him.
They were with their teeth tearing off hunks of me. They did worse things than that.
A terrifying descent into death and darkness.
Okay, so I'm not going to play the whole thing straight through because I don't want to get a copyright strike or anything like that. So I do have to break in every once in a while. But as you heard there, it kind of almost like a hell situation that this person experienced.
That began in the City of Lights.
I took a group of students and my wife to Europe for an art tour.
Spring 1985. Howard was a 38-year-old college art professor, department head, and devout atheist.
Now, see, he said he was a devout atheist. He didn't believe in heaven and hell. He didn't believe in the afterlife. As a Wiccan, I believe in the afterlife, but not as what Christians would believe or what Buddhists would believe. But everybody has a vision of what the afterlife is. It's just all up to interpretation. So continue on with the video.
I'm ashamed of this, but I really thought that religious people were simple-minded or just completely living in a fantasy world.
He didn't care about life's purpose, only pleasure.
Then you die and it's over.
Paris was to be the peace.
So he thought once you die, that's it. You don't experience nothing. You just go off and die. Your soul doesn't go nowhere. Now there are people out there that believe that, but for me, I believe that we experience many lifetimes, almost like a Buddhist would. So continue on.
Resistance until a nagging stomach ache suddenly intensified.
Pain was the most acute pain I'd ever experienced in my life.
A gastrointestinal perforation with corrosive digestive acid spilling into the abdominal cavity.
Oh, I needed surgery within a few hours or I'd be dead.
Howard's condition was critical, but the hospital staff couldn't locate a doctor to prescribe pain medication, let alone operate.
Because it was a Saturday and nobody was aware of it, there was no surgeon at the surgical.
Okay, so now that has to suck right there where there's nobody there to operate when you're in that much pain and having problems, complications. But again, this is over in Europe, so they have different medical systems. And trust me, I've been over to Europe. I've seen, depending on, this was Paris. And you figure they would have more hospitals, more staff regularly than some of the smaller towns and smaller provinces in France or anywhere in Europe. But again, this was back in the 80s, I believe he said, or the story said, but continue on.
Hospital.
10 hours later, he was ready to die.
So we said our goodbyes and I closed my eye and went unconscious.
Then something unexpected happened. He woke up, feeling more alive than ever, looking at his dead body and his wife crying.
So these people were outside the room calling me by name.
Come with us.
Okay, so he thought there was nothing after death. He was standing there seeing his wife cry, and he was standing over his body. Not floating, not going into no light, but as you're going to hear right here where the spirits were saying, come with us, they're trying to lead him into the light.
Howard.
They said, hurry up,
Howard.
come with us, let's go, we know all about you. So I thought that they were going to take me to my surgery
But he says there was no surgery. Instead, he was led into a never-ending, dark, damp space.
I was terrified, so I said, I'm not going any further with you, and then they began to push and shove.
He says dozens, maybe hundreds attacked, biting, ripping, tearing him apart. Just
Okay, so this would be what most people would think hell is like, or leading into hell. And most people think, or most Christians believe, that when you go pass on, you go into light, you have warm, fuzzy feeling, but that's not the case for everybody. And this could be one of the things that happens on the other side. So let's continue with the video.
for fun.
Then they did things to humiliate me and diminish me, which is part of it that I don't talk about because it's too gross.
Was this hell?
I don't think I was in hell. I think I was being processed, sort of like this was my indoctrination to become like them.
And
Okay, now see, this is where Christians might be like, well, if you don't believe in God, you don't believe in Jesus, this is where you're going to end up. Now, I've done another video on a Catholic bishop saying that hell was made up by the Catholic Church to scare people into believing what they believe. And believing if you don't believe in God, you don't believe in Jesus, this is where you end up. Well, probably not the whole case, but this guy, I don't think in the video explains that what he might have done in his life, other than living recklessly with smoking, drinking, which I've done myself. I'm not innocent, but could that happen to me? Quite possible. But I don't think so, because as I've stated, my belief system is different than what somebody that's Christian, somebody that's atheist, somebody that's Buddhist, but we're not going to get into that in this video. So let's continue on with this video.
that's when he heard it. He says an inner voice telling him to pray.
A memory came to me, very, very vivid, of myself sitting in a Sunday school classroom singing Jesus Loves Me.
He says the creatures became agitated and began to back off.
Out of desperation, I called out into the darkness, Jesus, please save me. And when I did that, a tiny light appeared in the darkness and got very, very bright.
Within the light, Howard claims Jesus appeared and healed his wounds.
And
Okay, now see, again, with Christians, they're going to say, well, if you repent, if you say, Jesus, save me, that he's going to come out and save you. And like I said, that very well could be a possibility for the other side. But again, we don't know what's on the other side until we actually get there.
I was filled with his love for me, which is wonderfully impossible to describe.
Soon, he says, guardian angels also arrived to watch his life in review. He says earthly achievements meant nothing here, while every human interaction was consequential.
Episode by episode, where I had either loved or failed to love.
However, he felt them all rejoice the night he had comforted his sister after a fight with their dad.
And I put my arm around her and held her really tight while she cried. And I held her all night long till she fell asleep. My angels and Jesus really approved of that simple act of kindness.
Determined to change, he asked, what is the best religion?
He said, the best religion is the one that brings you closest to God.
Yeah, and see, people of Christian faith, they'll say, well, Jesus is God. Well, how do you know that? I mean, the book is written and roughly translated from Hebrew texts. So, but let's say this is true, and there was a man named Jesus that greeted this man on the other side, and he said, the one that brings you closer to God. He didn't say closer to me as far as relating to Jesus. He said closer to God. Now, who is God? We don't know. Nobody knows. But religions, especially Christianity, will tell you Jesus is God. Uh, Buddhists will say Buddha. Wiccans, we got different beliefs. But it all is up to interpretation of what we believe. Like, I believe in light entities and dark entities, which can be construed as angels and demons. Just a matter of wordplay, how we interpret things. So let's continue.
And the most important message?
He said, love the person that you're with. And I said, okay, I'll do that. Now, what do you want me to do? And he said, no, that's it. Love the person that you're with.
Family, friends, strangers, and enemies alike without judgment. And that's exactly what Howard says he did upon his return, even when his wife divorced him and colleagues didn't believe his story.
People really hated me because of my new values. All my old friends dropped me. Some members of my family couldn't stand my new values and my new faith.
Undeterred, Howard quit his job, worked at a soup kitchen, then graduated from the seminary. A religious conversion that also greatly influenced his artwork.
This is the first.
Okay, so, I mean, he had a life-changing experience after his near-death experience. Now, is everybody going to have that experience? Probably not. I tell you, if I went to the other side briefly, like this man did, and saw the same thing. I mean, I'm a kind person. I'm going to do everything that I can to help people. That's who I am. So I probably wouldn't experience a lot of the hell, as he said, he experienced. But I don't think I would want to be somebody of Christian faith, because I'm going to keep my faith, because that's what is inside me. That's what I believe. So let's continue.
I did after my experience.
Illustrations of the hellish and heavenly journey are hung throughout his northern Kentucky home, which he shares with his new wife, Marcia, a woman who's never doubted him.
Why would he give up a full tenured professorship and his retirement? Logically, it doesn't make sense. And yet, it's so powerful that that's what he was called to do, and that's what he did.
Howard's also written a book titled My Descent into Death, and 30 years later continues to tell his story to anyone who will listen.
I can't save anyone. That's between them and God, but hopefully through love and kindness you can make an impression on people, which will give them
Yeah, see, and that's where I have a problem with people trying to push the religion on other people. Like he said, that's not for me to decide. That's not for you to decide. It's between you and God, whoever you think God is. So that's between you and God, not somebody to say you're doing it wrong or anything like that. So this is inspirational there as far as that part goes, where he's saying, don't believe what I say, but trust in what your belief is, what you're between you and your God. So let's finish up.
an opportunity to rethink what their beliefs are about.
That looks like the end of the video there. I got one more
In
video
Fort Thomas,
that I want
Kentucky,
to
Suzanne Stratford, Fox 8 News.
play here, and this is another near-death experience. as you can see right there in the title, from the Columbus Dispatch. Let me get this back into frame here and play this video. This is 6 minutes and 26 minutes long. Like I said, I'm going to break in periodically so I don't get a copyright strike. Well, let's play this.
I was fresh out of high school, and I lived a promiscuous life, first of all, and a life of drugs. I used drugs as well as drink, used drugs, drink, until I just got to the point to where I overindulged in crack cocaine, which led to my experience one morning waking up and doing my daily routine, stretching and yawning, and one stretch, I believe, caused a heart attack. I felt my heart beating real fast, and as my heart was beating real fast, I went off into a coma-like state.
Okay, so I'm going to pause that right there for a moment, because this video, I just remember, this video has multiple stories. It's not just one man's story or one woman's story. It's multiple stories within this video and different accounts.
And I just remember bright lights, one being red and one being real bright. And I felt myself drifting. As I was drifting, I was begging not to die. But as I was begging not to die, I can. It was one thing to see the light, but then to hear the voices, one telling me just to come on, and one telling me, "I'll give you another chance." And so at that point, I thought to make a commitment.
Okay, so we're going to pause right there for a moment, because he mentioned a red light and he mentioned a white light. Now, could that be construed as one tunnel going toward? Because when you hear about near-death experiences, you hear a bright white light or white tunnel with a white light at the end. But he experienced two different lights, a red and a white light. Could one be going towards hell and one towards heaven, if that's what you believe? Could that be that experience? It's up to interpretation what your belief is. But he said that one was saying, come back, and the other one was saying, I'll give you another chance. Well, if you're of Christianity faith, could that saying, I'll give you another chance, be that God? And the one saying, come on, be Satan, if that's what you believe. It's hard to say. Again, we don't know what's on the other side until we get there ourselves. Let's continue with the video.
That to God, if He allowed me to live, that I would live for Him until the day I die. I just wasn't ready at that time.
As we were coming through a intersection, the light was red, and I was slowing down to stop. And when I took my foot off the brake and then put it on the gas to go ahead and go and kind of coast through the light, the last thing I remember is taking my foot off the brake, and I was coasting through the intersection, and then the next thing I knew, I was in a different place. It was kind of like sheer material all around me. It was a light, and it was like a golden color, and it was kind of like what I think of as being in a cocoon.
Okay, see, now there's a different experience of what somebody experienced. Now, we're not going to get into what this person experienced or what happened in this accident or anything like that, but she experienced like a cocoon type feeling, stuck in kind of, and I'll do another video on it later of what it feels like to go through a portal to the spirit world. Now, some people might not believe that, but I've experienced it myself. I've never had near-death experiences, but I've had the feeling of going into a portal and it feeling like you're underwater. You're kind of feeling like surrounded. But we'll do that for another video. Let's continue with the video.
It was really warm, and I could see someone just on the other side of the material, or on the outside of the cocoon.
And I want to pause real quick because some might say that that's the veil between our world, our plane of existence, and the spirit world, their plane of existence, or that side of the plane of existence.
That I knew was my dad. After it seemed like I had been there for quite a while, I remember looking down to my left and looking, pretty far down, and I could see my family. They each, had their own combination of colors that were, like.
And she mentions different colors. That would coincide with people that can see auras and everything like that. So, and I believe everybody has a different color aura about them. And I'm not going to get into that because that's not my expertise. So we're not going to talk about that. But again, this is a different experience of what people experience having near-death experience. So let's continue on.
Like swirling around their bodies and yet coming out in rays. And that was when I knew that it was time to go back. And the next thing that I knew, then I was waking up and the nurses were telling me that I had been in a wreck.
It was Sunday, May 5th, 1991. I was in Brookside Estates off of 161 at a friend's house. We were home alone. We started playing in the hot tub. The ends of my hair got caught in the pump of the hot tub. It pulled me underwater. I remember being underwater, looking out of the water. The friends I was with thought that I was joking.
Now, see, that's where you got to be careful as far as, like, I've heard of people getting stuck at the bottom of pool drains or getting caught in the drains of hot tubs and stuff like that. And that's why you want to be careful. You don't want to swim alone or be in the hot tub alone, especially if you got hair. Of course, I don't have any, so I don't have to worry about that there. But anyways, let's continue.
Once they realized I was stuck, one of them ran downstairs to get scissors. The other one went to call 911. 911 actually had failed that day and never responded. It rang busy. They tried over and over again.
I've had that experience there as far as I was driving for Lyft last year and somebody was driving the wrong way on the freeway and I tried calling 911, got put on hold for 5 minutes, and by the time that I spoke to somebody, I was well down the road, and I believe the next day that I saw a story where that same car that I saw pass me, luckily I saw it because it was coming at me and I was able to get over into a slower lane because it was in the fast lane coming at me. And luckily I saw it, but somebody else further on down the road didn't see it. But let's continue.
I probably held my breath for a minute, a little over a minute, and I can remember saying to myself, I can't hold it any longer. I'm going to let it in. I blacked out probably at that point. They put me in the ambulance. While I was in the ambulance, I can remember them asking me my name, date, what year it was. Last thing I remember before I went into a coma was one of the doctors saying, she's about to go into shock. She's going to go into a coma. She's going to be in the coma for 4 months if she comes out of it at all.
Now, see, of course, that's her recounting what happened before this near-death experience. But let's continue to see what she experienced.
That's the last thing I remember. Then I was in a coma in Children's Hospital. On the 5th day of the coma, I talked this out loud. My mother was to the right of me. I started screaming, "Get this guy out of my room, get this guy out of my room." My mom's confirming there's nobody in the room. She went and got one of the nurses. As I looked up, laying in the bed, a guy.
And I want to break in here for a moment, because even though this person was in a coma, and I've heard this before, that people that are in comas still can hear everything going on, and they see things going on in different ways. I guess you can say it's almost like a psychic vision. But as I explained, people that have had near-death experiences are more or close to death have mentioned about being able to see loved ones or other spirits there beside them or in the room that nobody else can see. And we'll do another topic on that. I've talked about many times on my Talk in the Night show, and I think there's a video on it on the YouTube channel, which you can find. You just have to check the videos here.
He was very tall. He has long dark hair, a long dark beard, trench coat. He had red eyes, and he had a knife. And behind him was a bright light. As he was walking towards me, the light got stronger and stronger. I'm screaming, "Get this guy out of my room, get this guy out of my room." To the left, I look up to my left, and I see an image. There was really no body, a lot of white. It was.
Okay, so now could that spirit that she saw with the knife and the red glowing eyes, could that be a darker spirit that was like, okay, I see a soul to take? And I guess you probably could say it was like the Grim Reaper or something, but without the scythe and the black robe or anything like that, but a darker spirit. And the other spirit she mentioned up to the left was probably her guardian angel or guardian spirit, however you want to see it.
The girl, she was probably my age, 10 or 11. She had blonde hair and blue eyes, and she looked at me and smiled. I looked back at her, smiled. She walked from the left of me to the end of my bed, grabbed the guy by his wrist. The knife dropped. His eyes turned blue. He turned around, walked out of the door. The light did follow him out the door. Shut the door, which didn't really get shut. And that.
Now, see, she mentioned a bright white light that followed this spirit out. So who's to say that this entity didn't come through that white light? Again, we don't know what's on the other side until we actually get there ourselves, or we experience a near-death experience like these people that I've mentioned in this video. So let's finish off the video here.
That's when I woke up from my coma. When I saw the guy come into my room, I think that was my choice, whether to live or die. And obviously I chose to live, and I believe there is a reason behind that. I don't know what it is yet. I have not found it yet, but I truly believe there's a reason why I'm here.
To me now, I'm excited about what's coming next. Instead of being fearful about it, I'm, kind of looking forward to it, but yet I'm happy to be here too.
Like you said, once you have a near-death experience, it kind of changes you. It makes you look at life a little bit different. And that's why I have no fear of death, because even though I don't know what's on the other side, I know that probably something on the other side cannot be as worse as this. I could be wrong, but that's my thoughts on it.
I think at that point, I became a hardcore believer that one can really die and not come back. But I had the opportunity to come back to share it, and I'm glad that I did.
Okay, and Like I said, that was from the Columbus Dispatch. I can't not say it right. Let's see, this other video, so I made sure this was Fox 8 News Cleveland. So I want to make sure that I mention where these videos and these stories come from. But again, as I said, everybody has a different experience, what they experience on the other side. And it's all a matter of what you believe and what your belief system is, that is what you might experience on the other side. Again, that's up to you. So I'm going to leave that here. Also, again, I mentioned about my friend. I don't think I have the recording saved, but what he experiences, he had a seizure and he was laying on the ground, and what he saw, he was standing right next to the paramedics as they were working on him. Again, he's no longer with us because he did eventually have another seizure and pass away. But this is what he experienced. He didn't mention anything about any light. He didn't mention about any other spirits coming to say, come with us, or you can choose to go back. Again, you're hearing different stories from different people on what they experienced. And I believe it's up to interpretation as far as our belief system, what we experience when we get to that other side. So I want to thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified when I post my next video. Also, in the description, once again, there will be a link where you can help support this channel and donate to help me make more videos like this, as well as help me get Talking the Night back on the airways. So thank you again, and until next time, keep looking to the paranormal. Have a good night.